Hello and welcome to this week's episode of the So Rare Ramble. We're back. We're bads. We're bad. I'm bad. That's the reason we haven't done any shows for a couple of weeks. My stomach's been playing up. Everybody, I'm sure, knows that, but I'll just give that little caveat. But we are live. We're live on YouTube, hopefully. Got Seri Harrison in there. Is it Kerry or Seri? It looks like Seri, but I'm sure it's pronounced Kerry, isn't it? But yeah. Nice to see you in there. We've got other people waiting, and I'm sure the chat will grow as we go on. But this week, we've got an old favourite back, my buddy, my co-host, and that is Bullstar, aka Chris. How are you, mate?
Yeah, I'm doing all right, mate.
You're a little bit tired. You're on the sauce last night. I had to go to school.
I wasn't on the sauce. No, I said I wasn't on the sauce.
You weren't on the sauce. You said you were out. I was tuning you a bit.
I was out doing sport, but I didn't get home until about 11 o'clock. So, and then I was on the school run this morning and woken up by my missus at 7 o'clock and kicked out of bed. So, only about 5 hours sleep last night. So I've had a couple of strong coffees today to keep me going and get me up to a level at least. Anyway.
Nice. Oh yeah, Kerry says it is pronounced Kerry. Yeah, for some reason I thought it was. I don't know why I started saying Siri.
You think it was?
Siri. I was going to set off everybody's like home, like Siri and stuff like that.
What are you going to say, Cherry or something?
But yeah. Anyway, and this week we're joined by somebody that I only realised I actually sort of did a podcast with about probably about 4 or 5 years ago now. I can't even remember how long ago it was. And that was another guy's, and he took over for me while I was ill, and then it just sort of, I never came back, and it sort of petered out eventually. And that is Sean, aka FFThinker. How are you, mate? You well?
Yeah, not too bad. Thanks for having me on. Yeah, just getting to the end of the working week, so yeah, looking forward to having a good chat about Sorare and stuff. So yeah, it should be good.
Nice. And we were just speaking before we came on that it's sort of, you know, I personally used to hate international breaks because there was nothing to do, but now it's sort of, you know, with so many teams, like so much money on the line and everything every weekend, it feels like it's quite nice just having a little break this weekend. You know, I've still got some teams in play, but, you know, you don't have the stresses of the normal sort of streak weeks and stuff like that. But let's talk about how we've been getting on anyway this season. So we'll come around to me sort of towards the end. Let's start with you, Chris. Like this season, you decided to go down the Bundesliga route. How's that been going for you? And have you expanded into other regions yet?
Yeah, I'll tell you what I'm going to do. I'm just going to open up I have been tracking my ROI loosely. So I've been tracking my cash wins and my arena essence wins each week. So I'm going to just have a look at that quickly and see where I'm up to. So it's a bit wonky because obviously we get rewards in dollars. So you've got to kind of, I think in pounds because I spend in pounds and my currency set to pounds on Sorare, but my tracking's in dollars. So since streaks came in at the start of the season, I've won $529.
And that is that just from streaks, or is that like leaderboard cash?
No, it's a bit of leaderboard as well. I've split that out. So my leaderboard is 151. So the majority of it is streaks, and it's, like you say, I took part in the 5x Bundesliga, and I got to streak 3. And then I failed at streak 4 by 10 points. I got 410 or 411 that week. So I missed out on the $1,000 prize. But I mean, really, and obviously that's excluding essence, excluding card wins, which I've had some nice card wins as well. I came 5th in the
yeah, we're just looking at that now, the European Leagues Classic.
Yeah, last midweek. So I won a Valentin Barco limited card, which was a star. probably a tier 1 in a lot of prize pools, I guess, for a champion prize pool or something, but still a nice card.
His price is quite high though, because I remember I bought him at the start of the season. He was one of the more expensive strategy cards at the start of the
and
season.
he just got 100. He's just come off 100 this game week. So
yeah.
I do have his classic defender card, which I used. In fact, that got 100, and I think the mid got about 95 or 96 or something. But yeah, a nice card to win. I crafted a Ilan Kebal from Paris FC the other day, which again was a star, and that was a nice little win. So I've crafted some, decent cards. I got a nice rare card, Bundesliga Freiburg player that I sold on quite quickly and did quite well off that. So I've done well really. But yeah, I mean, I've spent about.
You've only got 6 rare cards. You've only got 6 rare cards now.
I've been selling them all.
Oh, I see. Okay, yeah.
But I think I spent about 450 quid or somewhere around that, and so I'm not far off break even really in terms of my cash. If I'm saying I've kind of won, what was it, $529. So I'm fairly close to break even already.
It's pretty incredible, isn't it? Like, I've, not exactly the same, because every pound I win at the moment pretty much goes into sort of buying other cards for other regions and trying to sort of expand it out until Christmas, and then sort of try and sort of, just keep going from there, and then sort of try to save towards the back end of this season for next season, which is what I didn't do this season, which is why, it's been a bit of a struggle getting into sort of divisions this season. But yeah, you've done pretty well, and you've gone very sort of anti-Bullstar. Like in the past, you were sort of buying players, off research, looking for hidden gems and stuff like that. But you did bow to pressure from the GOAT himself and buy Harry Kane in season, which has been an incredible card, and it's probably worth more now than you paid for him in the first place.
Yeah, I mean the thing with Kane, and that is quite a different kind of buy for me. I just looked at his numbers the first couple of games, and I said that to you in our WhatsApp, and you said to me, "Are you looking at buying Elisa?" And I said, "No, I'm just bothered about Kane at the moment." And
I hadn't looked into it, to be fair, but when I did, you were completely right, as I would have expected anyway. But
and his AA, I think excluding the last game, has been like 20 plus every game. His key passes, if you look at his key passes, he's getting like 3 or 4 key passes a game. His creativity is hugely up compared to what it's been in previous seasons.
I had a quick look as well at his heat map. Actually, he's trying to compare season on season. It does feel like from his heat map, even sort of early in the season as we are, that he's dropping a little bit deeper this season, doing sort of the similar role that he did towards the back end of his time at Spurs.
I mean, when they play Jackson a couple of times, and when Jackson plays, Kane's tending to be the one who kind of plays a bit deeper.
Yeah,
and he almost is playing as almost like a 10, really. And all right, he's not going to ever be on set pieces, but I think historically, anyone who's watched Kane for a long time knows that his passing range is, when he drops deep, is exceptional, really, and it's world class. And he can pick 30 or 40 yard balls out incredibly well. So yeah, he's an elite finisher, but his all-round game's just incredibly good. And
I don't play the Bundesliga, but even so, I'm still tempted to buy him.
Yeah, he's just been great. And but I think Bundesliga was. I went into Bundesliga because I played Bundesliga a lot last year and had some success with it. So I felt like I knew the league quite well, but I also had a good footprint with classic cards. So I picked Kimmich up over the summer, who hasn't been fantastic at all, really. But I'd got Mittelstadt with a decent collection bonus on, and Amiri and Stiller, and
yeah, you've got all the goats.
I've got a nice footprint, so I could already lean on that for good captain options. David Raum, who's been amazing, so I'd got that nice footprint. So that was a lot of my thinking going for Bundesliga at the start of the season, and I do think it's just full of very high scoring, peaky players compared to a lot of the other leagues. I mean, I almost call it like the European MLS a little bit, where it's just super high scoring. You've got defenders that just, I mean, you've got the three defenders, Mittelstad, Raum, and Grimaldo, are just three super high scoring fullbacks, two of them on set pieces. And there's a lot of goals conceded. It's hard to pick out quite often the clean sheet in Bundesliga, which is again very similar to MLS. But you can usually, if you fall on a clean sheet, you can build a lineup there usually with just kind of two or three other players that will rip big scores. And it's, I've had 1 week of the last four where I haven't had a lineup over 420 points, and that was the week I needed it to get the $1,000. But out of the last four,
how close did you get to it?
I was 11. No, I think it was 9 points off in the end. My highest lineup. That was a hard week. That was the week when Bayern were away, and that was when they rotated like everybody. Kimmich, Kane, I think started on the bench. And they came on, and Kane didn't, but Kimmich started on the bench, and I think Upamecano did, and Elise did, and a lot of people fell lucky with Elise where he came on, and I think he got an assist actually as well in that game.
I remember that. Yeah,
but had Kimmich played, he got like 48 or something,
and then people got lucky with Elise the week after that as well. But
yeah, I was lucky. I mean. I had the lineup with Kimmich and Kane in. I had Stiller on the Friday night, and Stiller missed a penalty. And had he scored a penalty, I'd have had enough to have hit the $1,000 as well. So there was a bit of there's a lot of luck in this game. There's luck that goes against you sometimes, but it was just a bit unfortunate. I think that week that I feel like I've done everything right in Bundesliga, really, and I was unfortunate. But I don't think I'd have hit the 460 either, because I kind of had lineups in my head of what I was going to play and who I was going to pick up, and I don't think I would have hit in my main lineup. I wouldn't have hit 460. My secondary one, had I played maybe a Mittelstad or Raum or something in there, which I may well have done. Yeah, I might have done it, but I'm not convinced I would have hit the 460 anyway. So, but yeah, I've enjoyed Bundesliga. That's been my focus.
And it looks like you've moved over now and looking at another sort of challenge, and you've gone down the route of League One. What was you thinking?
Yeah, and I'm kind of, again, my thinking with that was I don't necessarily think it's the easiest league, and I thought about going into Challenger. So I've played Contender as well, which I've struggled with in recent weeks, mainly because of rotation with being heavily on the Argentina collection, so River and Racing, and they've just rotated so much the last month that it's been impossible to pick starters out a lot of the time. This week I had a 4-man that should have absolutely walked the threshold, the streak, and Sosa didn't play for Racing, who was my captain. So again, I was short. Had he played and got sort of 70 or 80, I'd have got like 430, 440 points and absolutely, blitzed through the streak. But again, it's just frustrating with that. And then, Ligue 1 is where I've gone into the last couple of weeks. So I had a really good start first weekend. Finished 7th in D3, which was a bit, because when I looked at D2 and D1, I'd have finished very similar. I think I'd have finished 6th or 7th in both of them as well, and got $100 odd, prize pool if I was in Division 1. But I've got promoted up to D2 very easily, and then over the break at the minute, I'm trying to look at more players to pick up and kind of build out and strengthen for tackling League 1. I am on streak 3 in Bundesliga when we go back after the break, and I did think, do I go back in there and sort of buy a few other players and pick people up? And I'm going for League 1 with the budget I've got. It's one or the other really, and I think looking at the fixtures after the break, playing the defensive Leipzig stack of Galaxy and Raum and Orban with Kane and Kimmich is pretty strong anyway. And I was thinking, do I pick up a forward from Leipzig and play like a 4-man Leipzig lineup? But realistically, yes, Bayern have got Dortmund at home, which is probably their hardest match of the season, but I still fancy Kane, I think, to score better than, Romulo for Leipzig probably. So
I mean, Leipzig, when we come back, are at home to Hamburg, aren't they? So
yeah, that's the pick really of the,
yeah.
of the fixtures, I would say, in the Bundesliga, that first.
I just bought a Rome Classic, so a rare one. So I'm fully expecting him to get injured during the break.
Yeah, you've cursed him now.
But
Kerry League One is similar. So yeah, I had a bit of a footprint there with some decent classic cards. Del Castillo started on fire this season. He was injured, unfortunately, last game with a bit of a niggle. But Højbjerg I've got, and Barco Classic, and a couple of the sort of lower end PSG guys that they're all quite usable. So I thought I've got a bit of a footprint there. I think Challenge is probably easier to go into rather than one of the.
You say that, but I'm sure some of the people I know, Hoodwink was in the chat a minute ago. I don't know if they're still there now, but a lot of people have started playing Challenger, and I found it quite difficult. I've bought I've got Sporting mini collection, bought Hearts off a recommendation, which has been good so far, and I've got other players that are pretty good within that sort of region, but it is quite tough. I don't some teams just seem to sort of underperform on weeks where you think they'll smash and stuff like that. But I've only started that in the last couple of weeks. But
that's why I've done for League One anyway. It's based off what I've got in terms of classic options in my gallery. So and kind of if you've got a couple of options, there's a good starting point that you can captain and build a lineup round.
So you're doing the similar then? You're sort of buying any money you win, you're investing into other regions and sort of pushing the boat out that way.
Yeah, I mean, I think at the minute it's trying to do that with Ligue 1. So I've probably got a pool of about 30 players in Bundesliga. I don't think I've stopped buying Bundesliga, and I think if I get Streak 4, if I get through Streak 3 and I get to Streak 4, then potentially I might look at bringing in one or two key pieces to kind of go after Streak 4, because it's still $200, which is a big reward.
Yeah.
And, I can still, I'm up to 4% collection bonus on Dortmund, which is quite nice, but Bayern, I'm still on 2%, Leipzig, I'm on 2%, Stuttgart, I'm on 2%. So they're the other sort of key, maybe Frankfurt as well, that, I'd want to build up and try and get the collection bonuses up on them, because I think it matters. I think every single point matters a lot in it, especially when you're targeting streaks. And
I try and two stack. Teams, look for two teams that are doing well, and then try and two stack, and then put another goat in there or something like that. When I'm trying to do my teams, it doesn't necessarily always work, but I think that extra 2%, and often I think when I was 0.02 points off £1,000 in the Premier League. Actually, I had the full 6%. I've managed to get under the cap on it as well, and it was a decent team. It was just they had low cap because some of them were coming back from injuries and stuff. But yeah.
I think. I mean, any way you can get more percentage up, I think it's just really important. And again, when I'm building my lineups, generally, the Leipzig and Bayern one will be 0% because they'll be over the cap, and I'm using 3 Leipzig cards, but I just think that match at home, the Leipzig match at home, they've been good defensively bar the first game, and they've all scored well, and they're generally quite predictable scoring players. Like Orban's generally good for AA at home, and if they keep a clean sheet, you've got that kind of triple stack of the two defenders and keeper for Leipzig at home against Hamburg. I think is quite a good play, despite the kind of giving up the team bonuses. So it's unusual that I'm building a lineup like that. I usually try and do the 2%, and if I can get to the 4 or 6%, I like to do that as well. And if I'm running 3 or 4 lineups within a competition, I'll definitely have 1 or 2 that are probably on the 6% each game week. So
you've got Undav in your collection. I bought his classic this morning as well. I noticed his back. They were playing a friendly this morning, and he was playing. So
yeah, I saw that the other day as well. I saw his price shooting up yesterday. So and also Demirovic is injured, who's their other striker. So Undav will come. I think he'll probably come straight back in because of that injury. So
yeah,
not a bad option as well.
Nice. What about you, Sean? Then, like, obviously, I think you've gone a slightly different route, haven't you, this season? Like, you've got quite a big collection of cards now, and you've been sort of targeting everything, I think, or nearly everything.
Yeah, I went at the start of it. I went in sort of planning to. I'd probably only play like, I don't know, Jupiler and Challenger and Contender, because we had obviously more weeks to sort of hit those double up streaks, and the prices were obviously a bit cheaper. So I went in with that early, had a little bit of success, and then pretty much FOMO'd in to the main 4 leagues really, but didn't do it in a sense of a bit like Chris in terms of going for the big stars, because obviously the prices were just astronomical anyway. So I was going for like more the fixtures at the start really, to try to target the teams that had better fixtures, better players within those teams, and try and sort of cheat my way to sort of build up. And then by building up and getting to those higher streaks, you can then add to it with adding the sort of the better quality. Didn't really work in La Liga because I think that was very Madrid, Barca heavy in terms of if you had them, you were doing really well, and if not, you were probably struggling a bit. Liga, and I think I finished, maybe got the first streak, but that was probably it. But with Prem and Bundesliga, again, got very lucky that I got to streak 5 in both of them in terms of having a shot at streak 5. So Prem, I think Prem was probably the cheaper of the 4 leagues, I would say, in terms of probably know a bit more about it as well. So you sort of know who potentially is going to score quite well and the fixtures. So got lucky with that. And then sort of as I got up to streak 3, 4 and 5, added in your Salahs, your sort of top quality Brunos and that sort of thing. So to sort of pad it out a bit. But when it came to streak 5 for that, was sort of nowhere near. It's the weekend where I think there was only like 2 clean sheets in the whole league. And
was that the weekend where you had Rocco Reitz, who needed like a decisive, and like that was the week that Mönchengladbach were just absolutely.
That was the second. I think the Bundesliga were a week behind, weren't they, in terms of the other 3 leagues? So yeah, failed at streak 5 in Prem, and then the next week had a second bite at it to try and get the Bundesliga. And again, a bit like Chris said, I had the Galachi Realm sort of double up at the back, which was like 200 points on their own sort of thing with XP and stuff. Kane captain, and then Amiri didn't really do much, but yeah, I think I needed roughly at that time like 60 points from Rocco Reitz, which he was doing well at that point, just one decisive really, and he could probably even do it with AA really, depending on the game. And obviously they were like, I don't know if they were 5-0 or 6-0 down. They went 6-0 down at some point. He got pulled at like 55 minutes, and then they went and scored 4 goals after, didn't they, to bring it back to 6-4. So it's like, if he'd have been on the pitch sort of thing, or it wouldn't have been quite a 6-0, then yeah, maybe he would have got it. But so that was more of a bitter pill to swallow rather than the Prem, because I wasn't anywhere near really at any point, so it wasn't too bad. But that one was like the anticipation of might get it, but
yeah, but no, I remember in the Ramble Discord we were sweating that match because it was on TV as well, wasn't it? So
yeah. But yeah, so I was just that's all I've done. If I hadn't got as far in the streaks, I don't think I'd have done as much as I have in terms of like branch out and get more quality in most of the leagues. In terms of limited, I'm pretty much, there's still players you'd want to get in like Liga, and I've got no PSG. I just don't think I will get PSG because rotation is just a nightmare. And I don't really want to, unless the prices come down a lot, I don't think I'll pay the amounts. I'd rather buy 2 or 3 cheaper players that are just more fixture dependent and just play the fixtures week on week. So that's what I'm planning to do for them in limited. Prem, again, I've got a couple of biggest ones that I haven't got, but I'll just use the classic. It's not that much of an issue. I don't think I'll go into La Liga. I've got a few cards, but I'm not going to pay the money for the Barca and the Real Madrid because I'd just rather spend that money elsewhere, sort of thing. So what I've done really is more. I've now trying to sort of move up into rare to an extent. So I've started doing that in Jupiler because I had won a couple of cards. So I've got a couple of stacks in there that I'm now on to. I think I'm in Division 1 now. I had a couple of promotions back to back, and I think I'm on the 2nd or 3rd streak. So it didn't cost a lot to buy those cards, but I'm hoping that even just getting to streak 3 a couple of times should pay for themselves really. So that's the plan for those. So I'm now going to try and do that in League One as well. So I've sort of looked at the fixtures after the international break, and there's a few sort of lesser teams. I to an extent, I think I looked at like Toulouse and Brest, I think, are the two that I've looked at that I've tried to buy. I'm doing a bit like you said, David, in terms of buying a couple. I've got like defensive Brest stack, attacking Toulouse stack, and then I'll have one classic. Like I've got Cabal as a classic rare, so I'll probably then just put him in as the classic rare and just see how that goes.
You can get in a bit of trouble for looking at Brest, sure.
I know. I've got the filter off on the laptop and stuff. It's fine. But yeah, so I think that's the plan, and I'll see how that goes. I don't think I'll stretch massively in terms of every competition at rare, but it just felt I'm very much sort of fixture. I look at fixtures coming forward, and sort of there was a few. I had a couple anyway, and it's like, well, actually, it's not going to cost a huge amount to get some more in there, and then just to have a go at it, really. But I have been, as opposed to previous years, sort of been taking sort of some of my winnings out. So sort of when I won streak 4 for the couple of the Prem and the Bundesliga, sort of basically just took half out, because if it's just left in there, you know what it's like. You've got a balance. You'll just look at that one's going quite cheap. Oh, that sale's quite cheap, and then before you know it, it's all gone, sort of thing. So I have been a bit more disciplined to try and get something back from it, rather than just say, oh yeah, I've won it all back, but it's all been spent on the cards that are now in the gallery. So I've tried to be a bit more disciplined.
We've got some of the guys in the chat talking about Contender. Hoodwink says, thanks to you, Bullstar, for help with Game Week 19. He's picked up K2 Nakamura, and maybe you should use him with Teddy instead of the GOAT. I don't know about that. Maybe use the GOAT and Nakamura and Teddy.
I mean, Cecilia's form, like,
it's absurd, isn't it?
Yeah, and he's playing in a team at the bottom of the league, and he's literally like single-handedly on a mission to save them from relegation. And you know, they've been, I mean, they haven't won every game, but they've been significantly better the last 7 or 8 weeks. And I have his classic and use him in Contender a lot, and I don't captain him enough, to be honest. I look every week and go, that's not a good match. And then he gets 100 or he gets like 87 or something. Yeah. And he just pulls it out of the bag every week. But
I had a max XP Cecilia like last year. And when I moved out of like Contender Limited, I sold him. And every week I think, oh, he's got to be cheap now. Literally, they've got hardly any games left and they're probably going down. And his price is still high. Like, I mean, looking now, he's like lowest. The lowest price for his classic limited is 12 quid. I mean, that's the price of some of the decent cards in other in like leagues that are in season for the rest of the season.
I mean, the thing as well is, I think from what Hoodwinks said, I don't know that much about this, but I think he thinks they'll stay if they do get relegated, which I can imagine he probably will. I mean, he's been there for years and years, and he'd probably want to get them straight back up again, you know, if they do go down. So yeah, it's a bit of a risk. I mean, I have the playoffs, which is coming up quite soon. I think they've only got 1 or 2 more matches in their regular season.
Yeah, then they have another 5, don't they?
I mean, to be honest, it's a 6-point gap between them and the team above them, which I think might be Jeju.
Yeah, it is Jeju, yeah.
Again, I'm not a huge follower of Korean football, but you know, 6 points is, you know, one game they win and Jeju lose, and then they're down to 3, and they're really, you know, the 2 teams above them are in horrible form, whereas Dega are actually flying, and they've got to play them in the playoffs twice, I believe, as well. So it's certainly not you know, done and dusted that they're going to go down, and I think there's a fair chance that he could pull them through. So it's interesting. I think the only thing from a lineup building point of view, and this is me being a bit risk averse here. Yes, he's in amazing form. Yes, he's a great player, and Hoodwink has about 15 of his limited cards probably. But putting him in every single lineup when you're on the 5th streak is very, you know, it's putting all your eggs in one basket, isn't it? And it's not what I would do personally, but you know,
yeah, it's tough. Right. I'll talk about my weeks. I've had quite a decent sort of few weeks since we last recorded. I came second in champion, this lineup here. Was so close to actually winning it. Ended up coming second, and I got a Dembele, Balloon Dior card. It was like absolutely stunning. Unfortunately, I had to sell it. I've got no intention of playing in season League One rare. It was a bit gutting. Like, I really didn't want to let it go, and I did buy like a limited version of him, just sort of, so I've got something to remember that podium by. And then the following weekend, I won MLS Rare, which was pretty good as well for another grand. So I've had a couple of decent weeks, like not quite as good like the last week. But if anyone from So Rare watches this, what I really like in this sort of like competitions page when you're searching people's like lineups is if there was something that was filterable. Like if I could go in there and search by highest position finish and stuff like that, it just makes, rather than having to scroll through endless teams and stuff like that. And people have a lot more than me, but I remember that from a few weeks ago when we were recording with Nep, because he has an absurd amount of teams as well. But yeah, so it's been pretty good. I've been raking in the sort of the like essence as well, not quite as much as Sean has, but a decent amount most weeks. And I've been sort of trying to set myself a little mission at the start of the season to try and get into Rare, Premier League Rare, just using Money One and crafts. And I was quite lucky with a few decent crafts early on. Like I crafted Illiman and Die, crafted another couple of cards, crafted Defender, although he's been suspended for about forever since he got sent off. And then I've been using the money that I won last week to buy a sort of few keepers, and I managed to get promoted. I'm up to Div 1 now anyway. I think I came like 10th or something in Div 2 last weekend. So, that's been going okay, sort of ticking along. I still think I probably haven't got the star power to like win Div 1 at the moment. And like, if you don't have the star power, you probably need stacks of teams in decent, favourable matchups. And I don't really have stacks either. So, yeah, it's probably going to be a little bit tough to sort of win Div 1, but, I can still grind away the essence. But, yeah, it's not been too bad. I can't complain. What about sort of crafting for you boys? Like, I've had sort of decent luck. This last week was pretty dire. I think I crafted Nathan and Doy. I think you just bought as well, Bullstar.
Is that the guy from Lille?
Yeah, defender. I crafted him. Looks like he plays at weekends. He's U23, so he'll be useful for me. So I'll probably keep him anyway.
He's got one terrible score, like one horrible AA score, but the rest of his scores have been very good. So, and they've got some good. They've got a nice fixture on Lille coming up actually as well.
Yeah, I'll probably keep him. I'm not always short of sort of like decent U23 players as well. I mean, I could probably sell him and buy like classic, but what's the fun in that? I don't know whether you guys saw that I was watching Nep's reward video for this week yesterday. And like, it was atrocious. His crafts, like all through limited, like literally sort of dire pulls, went all the way through rare, and he got to one of his last pulls and he did it. And it was, I think it was like a tier 2 pool. And one of the options was English Germany. Yeah, it was a tier 2 or tier 2 plus.
On X, yeah.
Yeah, he risked that. Like he could have, I think, banked like 250 quid with Petrovic, the keeper, because that was an obvious one. And he ended up taking the chance, English, and it pulled like a Balloon d'Or, like a Harry Kane version card, like a rare one. Absolutely stunning. You could see like he was absolutely over the moon himself. But yeah.
I thought you were going to say, I thought the punchline was going to be pulled Carney Chukwuemeka, Maker, whatever he's called, from Dortmund.
No.
He was away from Chelsea.
I wouldn't have rubbed it in then. But I think Petrovic was probably the right choice. But, when you've got a gallery as big as his, it's probably worth taking a punt, isn't it, on sort of stuff like that?
I think there was 4, wasn't there? There was 4 English ones it could have been, I think. It was Chukwuemeka, it was Bellingham and Konza, I think, with the 4, wasn't it, and Kane?
Yeah.
So, yeah. I think he obviously took
what do you reckon you would have done, Sean? Would you have locked up the profit? 250 quid is not to be sniffed at, is it? Like,
I mean, if it was a limited with me, I've got like 6 or 7 keepers already, and it's like, yeah, you probably play fixtures with Petrovic, so you probably go for the Kane, even if you've got one, just because you know how good he is. But at rare, it's like, yeah, if you've only got a couple of Prem rare keepers, and it gives you the opposite. I suppose it depends on your gallery, doesn't it? I think if it was me, I'd go with the risk of trying to get the Kane just to bolster it out a bit. But yeah, if you're looking just to sort of add depth, then you're guaranteed a starting goalkeeper and international goalkeeper as well, and he plays for his country. So yeah, I think if you're looking for that depth, you definitely just go for the sure thing. But you would be gutted if you then go and turn it over and find out that it's Kane sat in that slot.
Yeah. What about you, Chris? Do you reckon you would? I'm pretty sure, like, hand on heart, if you had the option of 250 quid locked up or 1 in 4 chance, you would have gone with the 250 quid locked up, wouldn't you?
It depends what my other options were on like. I mean, sometimes, you know, when that Cabal one I did a day, it's. I was going to say it's nice when you can work out who the star is. You know, when you've got 5, and you narrow it down to the best 5, you do all the clues, and then you can like really zone in and work it out exactly who it is. When
That's
it's
true.
like Spain La Liga or England Premier League or Germany Bundesliga or something like that, like I just never go for those ones because it literally can be any card, like any tier of card, anything at all.
And Andreas Longard just posted, they're retracted in the chat saying it was all the more surprising because they'd said at the start that Kane and the Bundesliga players weren't meant to be in the draw.
I did think that.
Yeah. And he's completely right. They did
That's
say
weird.
that.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
I've only just thought of that. Yeah, well reminded of Andres.
Yeah, that is weird.
Yeah,
Definitely
maybe they got agreement. I'm assuming it was from the club saying they didn't want them in there. Like, it's got nothing to do with So Rare. Like, they would put them in there. It doesn't make any difference to them, does it?
Strange, isn't it? But
Yeah.
I don't know. But yeah, I don't know. I think if your options were like, you know, you'd narrowed it down, then it could only really be maybe 2 or 3 that were the star. It might have been worth the upside. So yeah, in your head, you straight away see England and Bundesliga when you go Harry Kane. You know, but I was going to say, like the Cabal one, there was literally it could only be him. He was the only star Algerian in Liga, and it was down to the last 5. And again, it was like that England Premier League, Germany Bundesliga. You know, it was like the other ones you just couldn't really. There was no point in going for them. There was just way too many variety of cards it could be. So it's nice. I think it's cool when you can you get this buzz, don't you? You know, when you feel like I've guessed it, I've worked it out, and then you click on it and it opens and you're right. You feel this sort of satisfaction and excitement, don't you? That you managed to get it, and you managed to.
No, I still feel nervous when I'm opening it, even if I know it's the only one. It's like, you know, maybe there's another guy that's just changed nationality and it hasn't updated in the API yet or something like that. But
what's the worst craft? What's the worst card, what's the best card that you've missed in a craft?
I haven't I don't think I've missed any good ones. The reason I've started buying PSG is because I crafted 2 of their cards. There was a Vitinha I got in Star Draw in Limited, and I managed to work out who it was. I think it was only him or another card that could even be a star, and the other one was a league that I didn't really want anyway. So I thought, sorry, I'll take the chance and crafted him. So that's why I ended up buying more sort of like PSG cards. Although I do agree with you, Sean, it is going to be an absolute nightmare. I mean, it's already been a nightmare. Obviously, I've got Dembele, and I managed to buy a couple of the Balloon Door versions of them as well. I've got Declan Rice, all thanks to sort of the win a couple of weeks ago. But they are quite fun cards to have. But yeah, no, crafting is sort of like a sort of skill in itself, isn't it? Sort of trying to weed through the clues, and I do really enjoy it. And actually, I really wanted to do a little live stream, a reward stream, like doing it. And then on Tuesday night, I was sitting there on my sofa, knackered, and rewards came through. Oh, I'll just do a couple of crafts. Before you know it, I'd ripped through pretty much all of my essence. I've got like 2,000 left in limited and 2,000 left in rare, but and hardly any clues. So yeah, I don't like doing them that low. Do you guys rip to the bottom?
No, I try and leave. I've done it before. I've gone quite low, and then I come to like Friday to then do like arenas, and then realise, oh god, I've not got enough to do arenas. And luckily, I've then won some from the midweek to sort of do it. But I always try and leave like at least like 2,000, especially in limited. I don't tend to do as much in rare. I tend to try and rip it in rare to see what I've got, and I've missed Mittelstadt once in rare. And that was just a standard, so it wasn't like I had a choice. I just ripped a standard 1,000 and got, I don't know who I got, but Yeah, and then when it shows you who you've got, you're like, oh, I didn't miss anything, and then bam, it comes up. Oh, you could have Mittelstadt next door. You're just like, oh, great.
Honestly, I don't mind that. It's like sometimes I don't even look if it's a standard. I just click through, always click to collect the cards. Like, don't even look, because otherwise it just leads to pain, doesn't it? But
yeah, my worst was in limited, where I think it was a special star, and I used both nationality and league. And like Chris said, it leaves you like it had Spain, which is smart. It's not. I don't think it's smart from Sorare in terms of they've planned it like this, but like you said, the amount of elite cards that have got those generic combination. There's not many that have got, when you go nationality league, you go, oh, I know it's X, whoever it is. So I think I knew it was a star, and there's some random combinations like MLS and stuff. So I think it could have been Larice at some point. I think 6 of them it couldn't have been, and then I think there was 2 La Liga Spanish. So I was like, well, if it's Larice, it's Larice. I'm not really that bothered by having Larice. So I was like, I'll go for one of the Spanish ones. I think I got Hugo Rincon or someone like that. And then the other Spanish one was Yamal. So I missed out on a Yamal in like a special star one. So that's a painful one when you get the clues. You think, well, I know it's one of 3. I don't care if it's one of those 3. And then when you've got 2 of the set, I try and avoid that. When it's like 2 Spanish and La Ligas, I'm like, well, I'm not going to choose either, because I'll take that out of the equation. But when it's like, don't want the MLS, I'll have to go for one of them. And it was the wrong one. That was did it, and it was just like, well, that's ruined the next half hour of my day. Just sat here thinking, that's 250 quid.
It's weird, mate, because earlier on in the season, I had exactly the same with Yamal. So I'd got down to last 5 and worked out that the star had to be Spanish La Liga, and I had 2 Spanish La Ligas in my last 5, and I chose the wrong one. And literally the card next to it was Yamal.
Yeah. That's what mine was. Yeah,
I think it was right early on in crafting when it, like near the start of the season.
I think I covered them all on my phone and was like, well, the MLS. Oh, it's not. I don't know who it was. It wasn't Larice. And I was like, well, okay, it's got to be one of the Spanish ones. Looked at mine. Well, it's not that. And then open it. It's like, Jesus. But
it's horrible though when you like I could narrow it down, and I was like, well, there's no star in that league. There's no star in that league. There's no star in that league. So I was like, it's down to these 2. Yeah. But I was like, this is just a pure 50-50. And I was just going, and I was like, go for that. And I think in a huff, because it was just some like crappy player. I just returned it straight away. And didn't want it. So
we've got some people that have missed some decent cards. Got Hoodwink, missed Marvelous Marv from what team is it?
Karlsruhe.
Yeah, that's the one. Yeah, from them. Andreas sounds like he's been like, Andreas, please don't ever do my draws for me. Mr. Rare Kane and Pedri in the same session. Kane in standard and special. Special star Pedri when he had no essence to do the clues. Man, that's unlucky. But your luck's got a turn. That's the good part.
That's the worst when you get down to I'm going to do one more, and then you're like, it's special star or it's a tier 2, and you're just like, especially if you've got a little bit of essence left, I'm going to hold some back, and you're just like, so it is difficult. But
how many arena lineups do you guys put in at the weekend? So at the moment, I'm sort of between 20 and 25 in limited and rare.
I think I do probably between 40 and 50 limited, and then 10, 15 rare. But a lot of them, to be fair, I don't tend to put that many in pre-lock. And it just tends to be, I don't know, it'll get to like 2:30 on a Saturday, for example. And I'll be like, the team news will come in, and it'll be like, right, I'll just go and blitz a load in now. But it's torturous at the minute. I'm trying to get them to change it, because when you go into the arena, and it still just has the percentage from Sorare inside to say, it's 90% play.
Yeah, they need to have starter in, don't they, when the team news comes out? Because it says it on the card, doesn't it?
And it has it on when you choose the missions, like the daily missions, when you go into it, it will show that they're starting or not. So there's obviously something in the UI that can do it. So it would be good if when you go into the arena lineups, as soon as it says they're a starter, it then shows it on there, or filter it by time or something like that, because it's a ball ache to then have to go. I just flick between like Sofa Score or something and on different tabs on the phone to then just choose. I'll make sure who's in the lineup and stuff. So
do you track the results?
No,
I started doing it, and I was starting to make profit most weeks. So I just sort of like, now I've had 1 week where I haven't made profit, but I find it a little bit softer when you put them in pre-lock. It's like people just put their like, leftover cards in and stuff like that. And you often get like, I look through some of my like 10-team leagues, and like half of them have got DMPs in that was some of them that were obvious, and they've just put 4-man teams in it. It's like, why would you do that?
Yeah.
I've seen that a lot. I've seen that a lot for the internationals this week. People are just putting loads of DMPs in. And I didn't even I've entered I only had one all-star team because I had literally like hardly any players this week. I've got my forward I don't think will start. So I was like, if my forward's not going to start, and I think maybe one of my other players is like 70% or something, I was like, why would I even entertain going into arena where I'm probably just going to lose essence? Whereas if I can scrape something out of all-star, it just makes more sense. But I mean, weirdly at the start of the season, I was like playing a lot more arena, and I was kind of like, when it first came in at the end of last season, I was kind of entering more lineups into it. And I don't know whether it's got a bit harder as it's gone along, but I'm kind of like lowered the priority of it now. So I go all my in seasons, then I build if I've got any D1 lineups for like champion, I'll build them first. Then I might build an all-star if it's D1, and then I go into arena, or I might kind of go into arena before I build my all-star. But I'm down to like entering only like sort of maybe 3 or 4 arena lineups at the minute. And I just find that like if I enter too many, all I'm doing is just trying to fit players into a cap, like at volume. And I'm not really thinking about the quality of it, and I'm not really looking at it too much. But if I only do like 3 or 4 lineups, I'm generally getting better results, and I'm getting top 3s because I'm actually like making an effort and building them properly. So I'm now really just chucking in all my extras and all my kind of like, players I'm not too bothered about. I'm just chucking them into like D2s and D3s in champion and all-star and things like that. And if you look at the percentages, actually, especially in D1, I'd say that the percentage now of winning 500 essence is better in champion D1 than it is in arena. So I'm just doing it off percentages and going, well, if I've got a 15% chance or 12% chance of winning 500 essence or more in champion D1, that's better than me. That's better than a 10% chance of me winning that in arena. So I'm kind of doing it off what's the best chance to win 500 essence, and then kind of going at it like that. And I know it's SO7 versus SO5, so you're using more cards up, but I'm kind of having reasonable success playing Classic this season. I've had some good, I've won a couple of decent cards in it. I won that Barco, I won a Robin Roofs, the Lons keeper.
Yeah, I'm enjoying Classic this season as well.
You're doing all right.
Yeah.
And Essence, and I'm churning quite a bit of Essence from Classic. Generally most weeks getting a decent amount of Essence. So
I mean, I always do my Classic lineups like Champion, All-Star, etc., like all before I jump into sort of Arena. So Arena is my leftovers, but then I've got quite a big gallery. So, even my leftovers sort of often I can field like decent teams. But I really enjoy Classic now. I know a lot of people moan about it and stuff like that, but for me, it's better than it's ever, not better than it's ever been, but it's better than it's been for a long time right now.
Yeah. I mean, this week there's and for the midweek, obviously not many games tonight, but I entered like one D1 in Rare, and there's like 700 people in it and 500 pay essence. So it's very doable. But then in limited, it's like 5,000 pay essence. There's only 4,300 in it. So you're guaranteed 100 essence just from that. And then the same with D2. I think there's, again, 5,000, but there's only 5,100 in it. And you just know there's going to be a lot of like 6-man teams in there. So I think they're definitely, the problem I have, I think, when it comes to essence is I get a lot of essence every week, but I don't really know where I get it from. So I think I play a lot of arena. So in my head, I think I'm winning a lot of essence from arena, but actually when you look at the numbers, and I have got them since like, I think the summer started, I've like spent 36,000 essence in limited, and I've only returned, I say only, but like 38,800. So I've like made 3,300 essence, but how much time is that taking to do, how much, all that sort of stuff. Admittedly, I've got like 53,000 XP, so you can't really quantify. Obviously, that then gets added to
XP.
cards. Yeah, adding that onto obviously all the cards, and I think that obviously helped a lot in streaks as well, with the, like when you said earlier about the extra percentage, whether that's under the cap, under the sort of 2 people a club sort of thing. But it is sort of weighing up, actually, is it worth? And a bit like you said, Chris, I find myself when it comes to like putting teams in, I'm like, I've got because I've got quite a big gallery of like classic limited cards. It's like, I've got all these cards, I should use them somewhere. And then I'm just chucking in. I'm like, I literally just, when it comes to 3 o'clock kickoffs on a Saturday, I'm going through it and going, right, I know I've got so-and-so playing here, so-and-so playing here. And then I'm just like, add. Not actually looking at the quality of the team or the lineup or anything.
To use them somewhere. Yeah.
So it's
I think that's the temptation with it. That's probably what they want you to do, isn't it? I guess, but
yeah.
I mean, I was just looking into on my tracker for my Essence. I've won 2,500 since the start of the season, and that's from playing between 2 and 4 arena lineups a week. Versus limited versus your like 40.
Yeah,
and it's only 1,000 less, so it's like But that is probably because I'm spending more time and the quality is higher of my 4 lineups versus you'll have some good ones, I'm sure.
Yeah.
But then you get to the end and just chucking dregs in for the sake of it. And it's,
But if you look at them, I'm just looking at my arena teams from last weekend, and like this team here, definitely like you wouldn't have like put this team in if you were looking to sort of focus on trying to win the tournament, but it did win. Had Moritz, the Borussia Mönchengladbach keeper, in goal. Murillo, who came off the bench, he was predicted to start for Marseille. Haspalat, Lee Ho-Jae, and Almiron from Atlanta. I mean, that's a pretty like rank. Like people would look at those cards and think they're pretty shit, but that won an arena. That won me 500 essence. Another one here. This was slightly better. This was like a team that I'd probably sort of like put in earlier on. And then sort of you go through them, and like even sort of the rubbish teams sort of tended to do quite well. My limited this week was pretty atrocious. I don't know why, because normally my limiteds are a bit better, stronger players anyway. But yeah, it is quite tough trying to work it out. Well, let's talk about scouting anyway. Like, we've got Hoodwink. Sorry, Hoodwink. I'm not criticizing. He's a good player. He's in my gallery, but I won't criticize the K-League. I love the K-League. But let's talk about how we scout. Chris, what are the tools you use when you're looking to buy players? Like you were looking at sort of like, I asked you earlier in the season, have you bought Elise? You say, I'm not buying Elise. I'm going to buy Kane. What was your decision? What was your process for looking into like buying him?
So, I mean, when I'm scouting or when I'm kind of looking into the market to start acquiring players, like Sean touched on before, my starting point is fixtures, like every time. So I'm looking ahead to like blocks of fixtures or easy runs of games, and then am I identifying players within those teams that I've looked at and think, okay, I like players from these teams. So that's always my starting point. Bayern obviously is generally every week they're good with your Elise example, but yeah, that's my starting point is fixtures, and then I'm looking at within that, I'm looking at match odds, I'm looking at XG, I'm looking at clean sheets. So my XG I'm looking at for attacking players and midfielders, and clean sheets I'm looking at for keepers primarily and defenders as well. I'd often stack a keeper and defender together as well, which is you get the double hit of the clean sheet. And then when I'm kind of then identify those fixtures, what I'm then kind of digging into more for the players, I'm looking into individual stats of those players. So the tools I use, I mean, I love FBref. I think FBref's a great website. I think it tells you a lot that you can't see on face value looking at. You can't always see looking at historical scores on the SO5 scoring. So what you can see obviously from SO5 is what has happened previously when a player has, got an assist, big chance created, etc., etc. What you can look into on FBref is things like how many corners they've taken in a game from each side, how many of their chances they've created are from set pieces. I like looking at shot creating actions.
Yeah, that's the one I was focusing in on right now. I think that's probably my favourite stat, because often
Yeah,
when you search via that, yes, it will pull up the people that are doing well and have high L15s and stuff like that, but it'll often pull up players actually that, you know, are going a little bit under the radar, that are cheaper, and for whatever reason, the person that's on the end of those crosses or those actions hasn't finished the chance. Now that could turn around. I mean, I remember like when we looked at FBref probably a year ago now, like players like Frank Honorat like popped, and weirdly he's popping again now, but obviously I wouldn't buy him. But
I mean, when I went, you know, that League One side that came 7th on the first week I played it, that was like I picked up Thomason from Lons, and he got 2 assists in that game, and that was based off they've got a nice home match, and his shot creating actions, he's right up there in the top, I think top 5 in League One on set pieces, and he's underperforming his expected assists, basically expected goals and assists. So that kind of, those things stand out to me. And the other thing I will look at Sofa score as well, and I'll look at big chances created. So I like looking at that and seeing how many big chances they've created versus their assists, and that has a nice little XG and expected assists and expected goals versus goals. You know, when you look on the player page on Sofa score, which is a nice quick thing to look at too. So it's kind of combining those two tools a lot of the time for my scouting that all then give me a standout of these players are, like you say, they're maybe going a bit under the radar. Maybe the strikers aren't finishing chances that they're creating, but it kind of tells you that decisive actions should be on their way. And for attacking players, that's kind of the things I'll look at. And then,
funny, if you look at League One, like one thing that immediately jumps out to me is that the top 9 players for shot creating actions so far this season, none of them are from PSG. The first one is Vitinha in 10th.
Is Lopez still first?
Yeah, Lopez first, Greenwood second, and then Thomason is 3rd.
Yeah, so
Thomason's a player that I keep missing out on auction. Like I keep trying to buy him. I've been trying to buy him for weeks, and I put it in and then forget about it, and then someone outbids me. It's just irritating.
And that was it. My 2 midfielders I picked up were Thomason and Lopez, and I ended up playing them in different teams actually in the end, which was good because Lopez didn't really do a huge amount, but yeah, they both stood out to me as good options, and you know, I mean, they still are really, and Lopez is due, I think, a few more returns really based off what you can see when you dig into his stats. So that's what I kind of look at from that point of view. I also look at, and probably more and more now than I did before, I look at how whole teams are doing and whether they're, you know, conceding more goals than they should have done, or, you know, scoring less goals than they should have scored as a team. And again, if you're kind of looking to build maybe stacks or you know, pick up 2 or 3 players from a team, and you see that they've got a nice fixture run coming up and they're kind of, you know, underperforming, then again it gives you a good indication of, yeah, this is a good kind of team to buy into as a stack. So yeah, I mean, that was the basis of with my whole mind strategy last year, was that towards the end of the previous season, they were flying for previous sort of 10 or 15 games, and again underperforming where they should have been in the league. So yeah, I think that's another thing that's worth looking at. You know, again, when you're targeting certain teams or certain players to pick up when they're playing against opposition, looking at how many goals they're likely to score the opposition against your goalkeeper, or you know, how many goals a team may be looking to concede against, you know, your attacking players that you're lining up.
Yeah, no, I completely agree, and that's pretty much exactly what I do as well. And I do enjoy going like a little session on FBref, going in there, looking at some players. write a few down, then go and have a look into them in a little bit more detail and look at their fixtures and stuff like that. But you can often get, some bargains, some guys whose L15s don't match what potentially they could produce, and guys that could go off that haven't quite gone off yet. And, in the past, it's a little less like, I don't worry about it quite as much, but in the old days, doing that could save you thousands of pounds. I remember buying players that, were under the radar, then would go off, and you could sell them then for like 1 ETH like that after buying them for like, 0.1 ETH and stuff like that. Now, we don't have those kind of explosive numbers these days, but, you can still make profit on cards if that's the way you want to go.
I still say the majority of Sorare managers are very, very reactive, and they will only buy once they see something happening. And it always makes me laugh. Like there's a guy's gallery I looked at the other day, and literally like I can't remember what the guy's called now, but literally the previous 4 or 5 purchases he made were all players that had scored like 100 points or 90 something points.
Yeah, 100 is never the way forward.
No, and you're buying them at a high point, and it's, all you're doing is just so lazy because you're just looking at going, well, these players can score this because they've just scored it, so they're probably going to do really well again.
I mean, any player can score 100. Like literally any player in the game. Like all they need, even a rank defender can have one game where they get a bit of air, get a clearance off the line, and then they get 100. It doesn't mean that's repeatable.
I mean, set pieces are kind of the cheat code where you can take a shortcut and go, generally speaking, a set piece taking player on most teams will, if you look into their shot creating actions, they'll be high up there because they are creating a lot of shot creating actions within the game from corners and free kicks. And they're generally speaking quite a safe bet to pick up those set piece takers from, fairly decent teams that are going to be quite possession heavy. Picking up players from teams where you look at somebody who maybe has just got injured, and you can quite quickly pick up somebody else and go, okay, Grimaldo's just got injured for Leverkusen, so is he going to be out for the next 2 or 3 games? So Alex Garcia is going to be now taking all the set pieces for them, as an example of one that's happened in the last week or two. But so you can do some quite clever stuff with it like that if you're from a trading point of view and to kind of react quickly. But yeah, buying from historical scores, yeah, all right. Kane and Elise and the elite players, Yamal and whatnot, they are likely to keep that up. But a lot of players will go on hot streaks because of who they're playing and the opposition they're playing against. And they've just played those teams. So you need to be looking at who's playing those weak teams in the next 3 or 4 weeks, not who's just played them and who's got those good scores.
Yeah, no, I completely agree. So I'm just busy buying a lens collection while I always speak, just degenning in. But I am a little bit short on French forwards. Like even with the sort of the PSG guys, I've got some of the Marseille guys, and then some of the guys that are a little bit more under the radar who've been doing quite well. But yeah, trying to sort of, I think I'm on the 2nd or 3rd street now, going into sort of like after the break. So I'd like to sort of crack on with that one. But what about you, Sean? Like, is there any differences to how we speak about? I know that you said before that you're more fixture led, but is there anything that drives that? Do you look at the fixtures, then look at players on that team, or do you look at decent players and then look at the fixtures?
No, so I think it's probably driven from the streaks really earlier in the season. So I've literally, I work in with spreadsheets and stuff, so I love a good spreadsheet. So I've got a tab basically for every of the individual leagues. So top 4, Jupiler, Eredivisie. They've basically just got like a live table in terms of, obviously the further through the season, it makes a bit more sense because tables are a little bit less known to fluctuate by sort of going up 7 places in for 1 win sort of thing. But I've then just got basically a...
Oh, sorry, that's fixture strength, is it? Or just the overall...
Just league table. So It's just got a league table of from that weekend. And then I just basically do a look at 6 to 8 weeks for each team. And then it does basically just like a look up to the table. It says, right, they're playing 7th, 12th, 14th, 15th. Just so it gives you a bit of a visual of over the next 6 to 8 games, what is their fixture strength looking like? And then I've just got like a 2-game, 4-game, 8-game average sort of, just visually, just straight away tells you like say I'm trying to get into like rare for.
I suspect you're going to be inundated with requests for a spreadsheet now.
It's not that.
Make some money off that.
Yeah.
But like I've just looked at that, and then straight away, like over the after the international break, it's like Brest are playing 15th, 13th, first, admittedly, but then 14th. So like 3 of their next 4 are against like the bottom 4 or 5 teams.
Yeah, no, I bought a defensive stack for. In fact, I bought their goalkeeper, and I've got one of the defenders that are crafted, but the one defender that I want, I haven't got yet.
Which defender did you pick up from Brest?
No, I crafted one, and it was one that does play, but he's not.
Which one did you want then from Brest?
Lala.
Yeah,
I mean,
he's on penalties as well.
Yeah, I know.
I've got Majeki and Lala as the sort of double up, and then I've got Toulouse as well. So I think the weeks that is it Toulouse or is it Strike? I can't remember, but it's Donham and Gaboa as like a attacking sort of double up as well, because their fixtures sort of tied relatively nicely in with...
Don't tell everyone, because this is who I'm trying to buy in a minute, Sean.
Junior Diaz.
They outbid on those 2.
Junior Diaz I crafted, who's actually been pretty decent. Looking at his scores now, 60, 74, 41, 65. So, and that's all AA.
I mean, Chardonnay's okay as well.
Yeah.
Well, love a bit of Chardonnay in the summer.
The problem I've got with that, I don't know how I did it like 2 years ago with the Brest stack. I did it last year, so I've got like 4 or 5 limited, because I don't then sell them because they've got like 12% XP on them or something like that. Yeah. So it seems a bit, but then I don't tend to use them. If I use them, it's in arena, and you don't get the XP anyway. So it's a little bit. I did contemplate sort of looking at the whole gallery and trying to clear it out, but I just got too many. It's just like, no, they'll just stay. I
just vault them. Even like 1 point. If they've got a ball, I think fuck it, just vault it. Who cares? I'm going to get like 20p for him. I'd rather get the extra like 1 point, 2 points in the vault. You know, and I do need to like work on my vault game, because at the moment I'm only on 9%. I'd like to get sort of more like towards 12%. But yeah,
I think that's what I'm at the minute for limited.
Yeah, no, 12. I think
just
cool. Yeah.
I was just targeting, especially early in the season, as soon as like someone hit, because there was quite a lot of fluctuation in terms of they were, I think Harrison Ashby was one that randomly was like 200 vault points for no reason really. So as soon as that happened, and it's like a cheapish price, it's like I'll buy them, vault them straight away, and then try and win that extra back over the season in terms of and I know it's in theory it's forever, you get X% on top of whatever you win forever, but we know with Sorare, you just don't know what's around the corner. So I've just sort of based it off this is a 1 season thing. If it's past that, exactly brilliant. But I think I've done better really in terms of essence, in terms of like the extra, because you get it obviously on essence and stuff like that. So that's probably where I've gained more on that. But
where are you getting that data from for the, is that from Sorare probabilities?
What's that? The vault
value of, the vaulting value.
I was going to sign up for it, but then didn't in the end, because I saw there's a few people doing streams and stuff, and it sort of they showed it, so I could sort of on there sort of see where they were. But again, because I've got quite a big gallery of limited cards, it was like I just sorted by seal value, could see who the ones were that had like that sort of value. And I think I sort of roughly worked it off if they got 200 points, it was like I'd say roughly like £7 would be a reasonable sort of price. I was sort of thinking like 30 to 35 quid per level, because it's like 1,000 points per level after that. And I was trying to do the 200s because you could probably get a little bit better value in terms of like the cheaper ones. But then obviously if you're working off 1s, 2s and 5s, it's just a lot more time sort of laborious to try and do it. So, but I think they have got quite a good tool in terms of it does show you daily sort of by price basically what's the best value. But I'm guessing
is it Egal that runs it? I remember that probably about a year and a half ago he gave me access to it, and then I was ill at the time and just didn't have a chance to look through it. But it does look like he's sort of expanded it sort of quite a bit at the time. I tell you what, Sorare Inside need to do. They need to do that. And I do like their little craft game that Sorare Inside do as well. But I would really like it if they would do like the ceiling value of cards and stuff like that as well. Make it, Chris, you're like Mr. Sorare Inside now, aren't you? Sort of, you need to get onto them to do that sort of stuff.
Our developer Ricardo's on holiday this week, so I'll tell him. I'll tell him next week when he comes back. It's I mean, he's very quick, to be honest, with adding new features, and he's added a lot this season so far. I mean, the craft helper is how I identified Cabal the other day.
But they only have a simulator, don't they, on the Sorare inside? They don't have a craft helper.
Well, it's the same thing, really. Unless you don't know how to use it properly.
Well, I mean, yeah, you probably just
I'll give you a lesson on it.
How do I put in the players then? So I put in special tier 2, limited. How do I put in the players to like?
So let's have a look. So if you, it should pull through. Is your gallery synced?
Yeah.
Is it signed in? I don't think your gallery.
Oh, yeah. Look, it says there. Account SR Monkey. Oh, maybe it isn't.
No, because it should show you the amount. It should show you the live amount of essence split that you've got.
Oh, really?
Yeah, which is pretty cool. So it bases the likely pool off your amount of essence you've got in your account.
I thought I already had it linked because I was playing around with it the other day. I was like, "This is fun, crafting, trying to guess the cards and stuff like that." But then,
there you go.
Oh yeah. So it tells you that, but it doesn't. How do I put the cards in that are in the thing, or if you're doing a draw, does it automatically upload it?
Yeah, no. So if you go to the no, it doesn't do it automatically. So if you then go to say you're in like a special tier 2 room,
yeah,
you click on that at the top where it's a special tier 2.
Yeah,
on the top column left.
Yeah, I've done it.
You're on standard still.
No, there's a bit of lag on the stream. Like, there's
Right.
Yeah.
Sorry, I'm looking at 2 different screens. I'll wait till I see it. There we go. Okay. So if you set up clues on the right-hand side where it says actions.
Oh.
And then you can filter by league and nation.
Yeah, I didn't realise it had this.
You can. It's all right. So you can. There you go. And then you just.
Okay.
Set up whatever you've got in the room.
Yeah. Oh, that's cool.
And it'll pull through the list of the players underneath.
Yeah. Oh, that's quite cool. Okay, I didn't realise that was on here.
we should probably do some more kind of video tutorials and things. I think there's so much on there that's been added. I mean, there's some features on the site now that I just miss, and I don't even use that often, to be honest.
Well, when I try and do a live reward thing, like doing a bit of crafting and stuff like that, I'll try and use this so people get a bit of an idea. But yeah,
I think people are starting to get used to it. We've had quite a lot of good comments on X this week that people have managed to figure out a good craft by using the tool. So it's quite a powerful, tool basically that you can use. It's very handy.
I know that like when they're doing, does it pull up both teams still? How do you get it to pull up both teams? Does it do it side by side? No, it doesn't.
How big your screen is.
Oh, I see. Sorry. Okay, yeah, because I've got it fit within sort of like the OBS, the streaming software. But yeah, and I'll have to have a play around with that.
If you've got a big enough screen, it pulls up with both teams now. Yeah.
Ah, cool. Yeah. It's definitely moved forward, I think, over the last sort of like this season, especially.
I need to switch the odds on as well. You've not got the odds switched on your.
It's because most of the time I do it on my phone. Where does it say odds? That's at the top, isn't it? Show match odds. Yeah.
Match odds, yeah.
I mean, like, I get odds, but I know a lot of the leagues quite well that I play. And sort of I know when the teams are in a decent matchup. And I know that betting odds, like, aren't bet on who they think will win the league. They're bet on who they think people will bet on. And they set the line there, and then the line will move depending on how much money gets put on each side of the bet. So, inherently sort of like odds aren't necessarily the best route to go, but they are a good guide, especially if you don't know leagues.
Do you not use odds as a starting point then when you're building lineups ever?
I do if there's leagues that I don't particularly know, yeah. Otherwise, I'm sort of fairly comfortable making sort of picks myself. What about you, Sean?
Yeah, in terms of, like I said, like if it's Prem or anything like that, I'll know. Well, yeah, because I like this weekend was probably a prime example, like Man U Sunderland, because there was a lot of talk about the fact that Sunderland were quite big odds, weren't they, in terms of compared to like league position and stuff like that. But obviously, it turns out that Man U won 2-0. But that game, I still would, even though Sunderland were like bigger odds than I thought, I still used like Robin Roofs or whatever, because I think looking at previous form, and actually even if they, like with the goalkeeper now, if they concede 3, actually they're probably going to not do too badly, sort of thing. So I do tend to, like you said, if you've got a league you're not entirely confident about, but with that, like the sheet I use, I know roughly, oh, if so and so is playing someone that's 15th in the league, then at home I'd expect them to be sort of favourites anyway. So I'd sort of tend to go off that probably more than odds themselves.
Yeah, I think Man United last weekend were quite big favourites, weren't they, going to this match? And like, you know, if you've watched Man United and watched Sunderland this season, that definitely wasn't like right. Obviously, you know, being results orientated, like Man United did win the match, but I think Sunderland had quite a lot of the ball and they actually looked quite good. So, you know, it could have easily gone the other way. It wasn't like a home banker for Man United at all.
Yeah.
I told you Sunderland would be good, didn't I, at the start of the season?
I don't remember that. I forget.
Ah.
I only remember it when I make good calls.
I said Sunderland and Leeds would do all right and Burnley would struggle, and that's kind of what's happening at the minute. But
yeah, I mean, they've all done better than I expected, to be honest with you.
Yeah.
But yeah. But teams like Brentford, like you were a season out, you and Haber, start of last season, you guys thought Brentford would struggle, and I didn't, and I bought them and did quite well with them last season. And this season, like after selling sort of like Mbuemo and like Norgard and stuff like that, Visser as well, yeah. You know, I think the writing was on the wall, and although they did look quite good against Man United, like obviously Thiago up front is a decent striker. Coming from Club Brugge, I believe, and then did his ACL last year, so he was out for the whole season. But he looked quite live wire. He looks like a bit of a nutbag, doesn't he? Actually, when he scored. But
I always think they've done a little bit better than I expected them to. Brentford, I thought they'd be. I mean, they're not doing great, but I thought they'd be. They've for the quality of players that I think they've got. I think their squad is really poor, and I think he's getting quite a lot out of them, really, with the tools he's got at his disposal at the minute. They're gonna have a long season, definitely, but you know, I mean, some of the teams that are kind of below them at the minute are in a real mess, aren't they? I mean, Wolves are really, really not good. Forest look awful. You know, I mean, that was a crazy decision, I think, to get rid of Nuno, but he clearly fell out with the chairman, so.
But then to bring Ange in, it's just like it's just polar opposite, isn't it? It's like counter-attacking football, and it's like Ange plays. It's just.
I mean, he's not going to play for that at the moment. He's got Nuno's squad, hasn't he? That he's built over the summer, and he's walked in, and he can't really do a huge amount until January anyway with the players he wants. So it's a weird one. I think Nuno will probably start turning West Ham around, and I expect them to pick up quite a bit in the next. Yeah. They've got a nice. Speaking about fixture runs, they've got a really nice run of fixtures over the next 6 weeks. So West Ham.
Yeah, I know. Smoggy in the Discord has been buying some West Ham cards, and I bought Fulkrug in there as well, like for my rare collection as sort of a backup striker, just because if he does Chris Wood, then he could be a bargain at the price, couldn't he?
Yeah, I mean, I'm looking at FPL head on, and I think Jared Bowen is a good option at the moment for that price in FPL, and he'll go right under the radar until he's had 3 or 4 decent games. People won't pick West Ham players at the minute, and I think that's a good shout. And again, on Sorare, it probably is exactly the same, really.
Yeah, I mean, I've got Fulkrug rare for £13.
That's it's amazing, isn't it?
Yeah, and yes, his form's been tragic, and he's been missed loads of games. But we know that he likes a big striker, and he'll probably start playing most games. And if their form does turn around, then he's going to be the guy that's probably one of the guys that's getting the goals. So,
I mean, next four games, they've got Brentford at home, Leeds away, Newcastle at home, Burnley at home. Other than Newcastle, that's not a bad run of games, is it, at all?
And I bet that Newcastle was probably going to be in and around Europe when they're in the Champions League, probably. So
yeah, 2 o'clock on a Sunday, it looks like. So yeah, and then again, historically, if you've bet over the years or about football, the odds won't reflect it probably, but teams that come off a Champions League game midweek, they always struggle at the weekend. Especially, I mean, that's a big journey as well, going down to London from Newcastle. And if they've played that Wednesday night, they haven't got a huge squad, Newcastle, either, to be managing, to play on two fronts. If West Ham get a couple of decent results before that game, that could be, I wouldn't be surprised if West Ham would turn over Newcastle in that one.
Yeah, they've got an easy run. And they play Liverpool on the November 30th, which is probably a home banker for West Ham at this point as well.
We don't have a great record against West Ham, I don't feel, do we?
I don't know. Salah's done quite well. He often, especially at their ground, he gets sort of, goals and stuff like that. But yeah, they often, like most teams are going to raise their game against us this season, and Liverpool are just finding their way. Like, I was more confident last season than this season. I hardly bought any Liverpool in-season cards this year, just because the amount of changes. Yes, I think they're great players. It just takes time to build, and it's just hard to watch at the moment. But
I think it's a funny. Again, said it to a lot of people at the start of the season. I think, not getting Gay in was a big. Well, I suppose a bit of a problem, and Konate's form's awful at the moment.
He looks like Bambi on ice, doesn't he? After time, he always looks like that, even when he's playing well. But when he's not playing well, it just makes him look awful. But
he looks like he's playing with concussion or something most of the time. He just doesn't know what's going on around him. And Alisson's injury was completely caused by him.
Yeah,
Alisson's out for a month or 6 weeks or whatever now because he did a ridiculous back pass.
Do you think Slot needs to send him for a scan to make sure he hasn't had a TBI that he hasn't realised or something?
I don't know what's going on, but and then the backup is Joe Gomez, who plays for one game and then gets injured for 6 months. So,
and then the Italian guy that we got in, obviously, he only did his bloody ACL first match after looking good as well, which is even more annoying. But
so it's just a funny squad construction, I think, where we've got plenty of players in some positions, but right wing, Salah's not been great this season, and we don't really have anybody. We've got Chiesa really, who comes in.
He's been playing down the middle more, hasn't he, when he comes on a sub than sort of on the right?
Yeah, and the same with left wing. Gakpo started off very well, but he's kind of gone off the boil the last few weeks, and we've just got young Rio there to come in and play the odd game, who looks a good prospect, but he's not Diaz. And I think it's a bit of a wonky squad construction, even though they're very good players we've brought in.
Well, if you look at the three players that we've lost, obviously Jota, rest in peace, brother, Diaz and Nunes, they were all like absolute terriers when it came to defending as well. They would run back and the best will in the world. Gakpo isn't that type of player. He's not quite as high energy going backwards defending and winning the ball back. Salah, by his own admission, has been told by Slot to try and do less defending, and so he tends to sort of sit up the pitch a bit more when people come back. And I don't think Isak and Ekitike either of them are quite defensively minded in terms of tracking back either. So we've lost a lot of sort of defensive output from those guys. If they don't win tackles, then they used to put pressure on people, to try and turn over the ball. And I think that's been an issue this year. But anyway, I could talk about Liverpool forever. But we've been going on for nearly an hour and a half. And I know you guys have busy working weeks, unlike me. But so I think we knock it on the head there. Unless there's anything else either of you wanted to speak about.
No, I think of me.
But yeah, thanks for joining us, Sean. Great to have you on board. And I'm sure we'll try and get you on again in the future, see how you're getting on with the streets and stuff like that. Chris, as always, brilliant to see you, mate. And we shall be back next week. Bye.